Hello guys, welcome back to Dragon Exotics, and today we're going to be doing a macaw video. I don't believe I've shown these guys on the channel yet, but this over here is Ember. He is my newer scarlet macaw. What are you doing, baby? Huh? But yeah, he is about a year old, and we've had him for, it's been about a month now. This is Fumbles. She is my 3-year-old macaw. I met her when she was 12 weeks old, and I got to help hand feed her until she was weaned and ready to come home. So she's the crazy one that I have. But today we're gonna be talking about, do you really want a macaw? So, just look over here. This one decided to regurgitate. Great job, little dude. Great job. Okay, so first step. If you're considering getting a macaw, I want you to ask yourself why. Why do you want a macaw? Just put it out there. Are you thinking, ooh, that thing looks so pretty and probably talks really cute. I want to have it in my house and it's gonna be awesome. I mean, okay, that's step one. I personally got these guys because as a vet, I know I'll see a lot of birds and I want to have the most experience handling them and understanding their diet, behavior, anything that I may be able to help my future clients with and just help overall birds with, because I want them to live the best life possible. So ask yourself why you're getting a macaw and think about the reasons, then maybe think about some of the things said in this video and see if you still want to. All right, so you're debating getting a macaw, okay? That's step one. Next step is, how much is it gonna cost? You guys could probably go to some rescues, find them for pretty cheap. I mean, it can be either under $1,000 or it can be anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000, even at a rescue. But even if you're considering a rescue, know that you're going to have to train them and learn how to bond with them. It may involve some bites in the process because it's a new bird and you have to learn the behavior. So even with the cost of adoption, even though I think adoption's great, you still want to consider those things. If you're purchasing a baby macaw, which they are adorable, I'm not gonna lie. If you're purchasing one, I'd say about 10 years ago, they were 3 times less than they are now, because the prices for these guys have skyrocketed, and unless you're getting a blue and gold, you're gonna be lucky to find one that is cheaper than $5,000, because it's hard, and that's a good thing. So it'll keep people from hopefully buying and breeding, because the more that these guys breed, the more that they're going to adoption centers, because there's a lot of rehoming. And I don't want to ramble on too much long for this video, because I know there's a lot that can be said on each topic, but maybe I can make a detailed video in the future. So just leave your comments down below and let me know what you guys want to see. Anyways, so now that you're looking at the cost, you're like, well, are we gonna adopt and get one for a cheaper method, or are we going to purchase one and spend a bunch of money? Well, okay, next step. Now ask yourself again, why do you want a macaw? Okay, still think it over. Still think it over. Okay, ask yourself, do you really want to do this? Okay, so now you've got to decide where you want to get your bird. There are breeders, there are breeders everywhere. There are also local adoption places in most states, if you're in the US. So you can always check them out, see what's available, get some information on them. So just make sure you're not buying online because there's a lot of scammers out there. So if you're looking to get a macaw, definitely don't buy online, because shady stuff happens. So don't recommend. Yay. Let's see, kind of just going with this. So now for actually taking care of a macaw, now that you're pretty sure that you want one, now you've got to look into what goes into having a macaw. You have this gorgeous, colorful bird, right? It can give cuddles, it can talk. Well, all right, what do you need? What do you need to get started? So these guys are big. You can't just stick them in a tiny little cage and expect them to be okay for their entire life, because that's not how it works. When we got Fumble, she had a decent sized cage. It wasn't huge, but we definitely would have wanted it to be bigger, and she was a baby, so it worked. But our main mission was to improve on that cage as soon as we could. And so that's what we did. These guys require a huge amount of space, and if you don't provide it for them, I mean, not only are they going to be like sad in a tiny cage, but they're not gonna be as mentally stimulated. They don't have much stuff to do. And you have to be putting toys in there all the time to keep them occupied. So they're always destroying toys, they're always doing something, whether it's foraging, just having some sort of interaction. And so you gotta keep these guys occupied. They're very smart and distracting, as you can see. Right now we have them in a, if you guys can see over there, we have them in the double macaw cage. I was using that for Fumble as a single cage when it was just her, and before we had this bird room where the only time they're in the cage is at night. And so I do recommend, because they require a lot of space, if you're considering getting one of these birds, don't put it in a cage. And if you're planning on getting one just to put in a cage, I don't recommend you get a macaw. Because these guys, they're not like domestic cats or dogs and you can have them in your house and just hang out. They're still birds. They're still birds. So you want to give them as much room as possible because they're intelligent and they can fly. And it's not something you stick in a tiny cage just so you can look at and think it's pretty. They're not decoration. You're not decoration, are you? Okay, thank you. But yeah, so you not only have to have a big cage, you have to always fill it with toys, which are expensive. And you can't just put those little tiny dowel perches in there. You have to get like the actual wood ones so they don't hurt their feet, cause bumblefoot and all those issues that you don't want to deal with. So that's another point. It requires a lot of space, a lot of toys, a lot of money. So just those are some important things to consider. All right. Now, if you have a life and you work or you go to school and maybe you're young and you're like, ooh, I want this bird. Well, are you gonna go to college? Do you have a plan for this? Like right now I'm in school. So yeah, I might be gone most of the day, but these guys are in a bird room. They're not locked up in the cage all day. They have a TV. Let's see if you can see it. Up there, right there. Okay? They have a TV while I'm gone. And she has company, so she's not lonely. Hi, Ember. There we go. So they're not lonely. So everything's great for them. But if you're planning on just going to work and just stuffing them in the cage all day, I mean, that could be anywhere from 8 to 10 hours where you're not interacting with them. And then the first thing you have to do when you get home is hang out with them. I don't know about you, but that was kind of draining for me. And it's hard to get stuff done if you have to study and just, you know, I mean, it's fun to hang out with them while they're out, but you have to make sure that you're hanging out with them whenever you're home. And that can get kind of draining if you work and you're busy all day and then you come home and then hang out with your birds and you still have to get stuff done, and it's a lot. Just be aware that it is a lot and you have to plan accordingly for time and space and your life as well. So yeah, keep that in mind. The next thing that we're gonna talk about is the mess. Oh, macaws are messy. Birds, you may have had birds and have seen their bird cage. Yeah, that's messy, but macaws are messy on a whole other level. Because they're big, the toys that they're gonna get are just ginormous. And so when they chip away at that wood, you're gonna get wood pieces everywhere. Not to mention, their poop is huge. So you have to clean that up a lot. I mean, we're talking, they probably go to the bathroom and it depends. It can be once every 30 minutes or it can be more often. So it really depends. But they're messy. I mean, I would show you a little bit, but I don't want to show you the messy floor. I have to sweep this bird room at least twice a day. I mop it at least once a day. And that's this huge room. They have everywhere to fly and do everything, and they still make an entire mess. So just imagine what that mess would be in a tiny cage. And if you let the mess pile up, it can build up the dust particles because they do release a lot of dust and kind of dander that isn't good for the respiratory systems if you just let it pile up and you don't clean it as often as you need to. So Cleaning is a big thing with these guys because they're messy and they can get respiratory issues if you don't keep up the maintenance, keep up the cleaning, and it's a job. It is definitely a job. These guys, their little nostrils actually get a little bit, you can tell they get a little irritated when their standards aren't as well kept as they need to be. So it's kind of a telltale sign. But either way, you want to make sure you like have an air purifier in the room that's with them because they produce a lot of that dust. And just to make sure that they're going to be healthy. And remember, the more birds you have, the more dusty it's gonna get. Cockatoos are a big one for producing all those, they're like little white particles. So you can see kind of some of that coming off, but yeah, they produce a lot. So there's a lot of cleaning involved. Next is noise. These guys are loud. They're not really in the screaming mood right now, but I'm sure if you look up Macaw's screaming video, you'll get all you need to know. If you're living in an apartment, your neighbors will probably hate you. Just unless you have really great neighbors, then that's fine. I actually did my first year with Fumbles in an apartment, but this was before. This is her first year before she learned how to scream. So I didn't really have any issues, but once she learned how to scream, yeah, it's loud, and you probably want your neighbors to be on your side. So if you want a loud screaming bird, then you can check that on your list because they can be heard for miles. So yeah, point noted. Thanks, Fumble. All right, next we've got lifespan. Do you want a friend that will live with you? Probably just plan on your entire life. Because that's what these guys are. In the wild, they can live about 80 years or so, but in captivity, you know, we don't know the exact lifespan anymore in captivity because a lot of breeding with not much diversity within that breeding kind of shortens their lifespan, so it's been going from generation to generation without much of the diversity in the family. So in the end, it has shortened their lifespan a little bit, so it could be 40 years, it could be more than that. But either way, take care of them because they're gonna be in your life for a very, very long time. And that's pretty crazy. So don't just think you're getting this and then, I don't know, change all your life decisions, go move somewhere that doesn't allow macaws. I mean, you gotta plan these things out. You can limit yourself to an area that could, that you can never get a macaw. And it's either that or you rehome it, but you don't want to rehome your macaws. Okay, so we talked about all that. Do you want a life? Man, that's a big one. I know with these guys, I have a life, well, maybe now because they have a nice bird room, but like on vacations, it's such a pain. You have to find somebody to watch them. If you board them, most of the time they're stuck in a tiny little cage when you board them. And I'm not the biggest fan of that because sticking them in a cage for a good amount of days where they can't do anything it's not the best for them. It's not as mentally stimulating and I feel like it drives them crazy. So yeah. But just know if you want to go places, you have to find a place to board them. You have to find a bird sitter that knows what they're doing, that's not afraid of these guys. Because one thing I've learned after getting to macaws is that there are a lot of people who are afraid of birds. I didn't actually realize that beforehand. But yeah, so just make sure you have a plan for that. And make sure you have plans for in the future so you don't have to get rid of these guys. Modify stuff so you can live with them. It's a lot of stuff just to consider before you get to crazy macaws that are most likely going to run your life, because that's really what this boils down to. Okay, so now that you're like, do you want a life? Well, now do you want everything in your life destroyed? Yeah, I didn't realize the destruction that came with these guys. Like, they're all like, macaws are destructive. Just know this. I'm like, oh yeah, they can break your buttons off your shirt. They'll yank on your earrings. I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine. No, they are much worse. We're back. Okay, that was a great example of destruction. She will try to land on anything and destroy it. So she has cracked the phone screen on my screen protector multiple times. She's broken so many cords. She even peeled off the plastic on a refrigerator. Oh, wonderful. And it's not that cheap plastic. It's like, it's hard stuff. These guys break full wooden blocks. I mean, do I have anything that I can show you? Like, you see those huge blocks up there? Those toys? Yeah, she can break those. She can break anything that you can think of. These guys have huge beaks, and don't ever underestimate their power, because then everything that you own will be destroyed. Hence the reason why they're in a bird room, because they're so destructive and they destroy everything, but they're so sensitive where they can hurt themselves. If they chew on anything that has zinc in it, they can get sick. So you gotta have, you gotta protect things. They destroy them and it can be bad for them. It can make them sick. Another thing is, because they're sensitive, as I had mentioned, the respiratory sensitivity earlier with the dust, they're also sensitive to other things. Like, let's say you have them in your home, and this goes for all birds, and they are near, hold on, let me grab her. And they are near the kitchen, and you're cooking with non-stick cookware that contains Teflon. Teflon is toxic to birds, so it can kill your birds. These guys are sensitive. You will have to change your lifestyle to own them, because you have to take these things into account. So do you really want a bird that's going to rule your life? You have to change everything just for a few cute cuddles. Yes, cuddles are great. I'm not gonna lie, they are great. And I'm trying to think of more pros for having a macaw besides the fact that they are gorgeous in the sky when they're flying. It's fun to take them out and fly. They're great educational purposes, but would I own one if I wasn't a vet and trying to learn about them? I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of, breeding something that's probably meant to be in the wild. So that's my perspective on it. But they are great and they are adorable, and I do love them, but they're sensitive and there's a lot of work. So if you're willing to give your whole life to them, and they're probably more work than maybe children, we'll see. There might be an update video for that, who knows. You can see that? Yeah, they're a lot of work. I'm surprised that windowsill isn't destroyed yet. Yeah, all right. Oh my goodness, birds. But anyways, so just look over that. I mean, they cost a lot. They're a lot of work. You're gonna have to train them. You can't just get a bird and think, oh, this is gonna be great, I can just have a bird. No, you gotta train them. You gotta train them like to step up, so they'll step up on command, to train them recall, which you wanna keep them flighted because you don't want them to develop like fatty liver disease from having lack of exercise. Because when they can't exercise, when they can't exercise, they can develop things like fatty liver disease. And that can make them sick, and it causes a whole bunch of problems in the future. It shortens the lifespan, and it's really just not great for the bird. Not to mention keeping them flighted and not clipping. They're birds. They're meant to be flighted. They're meant to fly. Humans would love to fly. If you want a pet that doesn't fly, I mean, there's billion out there. Like, there's cats and dogs, lizards. Oh, you guys can get a snake. Now that one doesn't even have legs and it won't fly. I hope. There's so many different animals there. So you have options, okay? So if you're gonna get a bird, know that it should fly. I mean, it's one of those animals that flies, and it's amazing because you can train them to fly to you. You can call them from across the room and they'll fly to you. And I know a lot of people are like, oh no, but it's not safe to have them flighted. They're going to escape, and oh no, they'll fly away. Yeah, no. I mean, if a clipped bird escapes, there's also the chance that it'll get caught in a wind current and it can fly away, even if it's clipped. But what happens is that if it doesn't fall from the sky and break its body, it can get attacked by a hawk because it doesn't have the proper skills to escape a predator. And it's just, clipping it's not my favorite thing. So, but yes, thank you, Fumble. Ember is actually clipped. We got him clipped, and it's a pain to deal with. He he's not as willing to explore and do the things that Fumble wants to do, and he falls off of his perch and he gets so mad that he can't fly when she can fly. Like, it's, you can see it in their behavior. Like, they want to do it but they can't, and I would never take that away from them. So hopefully he'll be able to fly within the next 2 months. He's almost there, and we're training with him, trying to teach him to hop, so when he does fly, his recall training will be pretty spot on. But clipping is a thing you want to be aware of. Yes, you want to, when you bring them to the vet or wherever you go for grooming, you just want to trim their nails, but clipping their wings shouldn't be. It just shouldn't be a part of it. You can train them to avoid dangers, or better yet, just bird-proof your house. Because remember, if you're getting these animals, you got to take responsibility for them, and just, you bird-proof your house. I mean, if you're having a kid, you like do toddler proofing for stuff. It's kind of a similar thing, and you want to keep that in mind before getting one. These guys are a lot of work. I don't know. I mean, this is going to be like a 20-minute video just telling you how much work these guys are. But in the end, we've got the cost, the time and space that you need. There's so much training that goes into it. I didn't even mention their beaks when I talk about destruction. I mean, I said that their beaks can destroy things, but their beaks can damage your skin too. So if you don't read their behavior correctly, you can get a pretty bad bite. So there's bite training you got to look into. You got to plan for your life ahead. There's a lot of things. I mean, for a cute and cuddly bird, there's a lot of things you have to sacrifice and think about and really question, is this something that I really want to do? Like, is this something that I'm going to be responsible for and I will not ever rehome? Like, you're choosing to get this bird with the intentions of never rehoming them, because there's too many that are getting rehomed. So you really have to think about the decision, and I mean, would I recommend a macaw to everyone? Probably not. No, not at all. Not at all. These guys probably should have stayed in the wild where they belonged. And it's been the best for them. Their lifespan is obviously longer in the wild than in captivity. And I mean, humans, that's all. Okay, to sum it up, you gotta realize what a macaw is, right? Not a clearly domesticated animal. This thing flies and needs to fly. You gotta ask yourself why you're getting the macaw, okay? You gotta look at the cost. These guys are expensive, and they will be expensive for the rest of your life. I've spent way too much. Yeah. Ask yourself again why you're getting macaw. Figure out where you're gonna even get a macaw. And then look at the facts of how much time and space you're gonna need for them. Do you have a job? Do you have a life? Do you want everything in your life destroyed? Because they will destroy anything and everything. I mean, when you have kids, are you gonna train them around the kids? Are you gonna have a place for them to stay where they're going to still be entertained and mentally stimulated so that they don't pluck? There's so many factors to consider with that. Are you going to be able to clean up their messes and keep doing that? Because that takes a lot of time too. Are you going to look at like the noise? Are you going to live somewhere where their noise is acceptable? Are you even going to live somewhere where they are legal? Because that's another factor. Are you going to plan on having them for your whole life? Like, there's a lot of things that go into it. So I'm just going to stick with that as the summary. And come here, Fumble. Yep, come here. So if you looked through all that and you did more research on your own, because I can tell you this video it's nowhere near the amount of research you're going to have to do, then you can consider getting a macaw. And the diet is going to be in a whole other video, but the diet, you can't just feed them seeds and be like, oh yay, this guy has seeds. Oh, it's gonna be fat and wonderful. No. Seeds may have some vitamins, but seeds and nuts should only be offered as treats and every day offered as training treats. But their general diet should consist of a good brand of pellets and fresh fruits and vegetables every morning. So that's gonna be a whole other video, which is why I didn't touch on it much. But if you've listened to everything that I said and somehow lasted to the end of this crazy video, and you still want to have a macaw, then I mean, go for it. If you want a crazy flying monster with scissors attached to its beak, then yeah, go for it. Also know, if you get a macaw, I'm just remembering all these sorts of things. If you get a macaw, you can't just touch them willy-nilly. Like if you want to just cuddle them and be like, oh my gosh, you're so cute. There's no places for birds. You can't just rub them on their back because then they think that you're saying, hey, you want to be my mate? There's a lot of things. You're not like a cat or dog where you can just cuddle with no consequences. So, but with all that being said, here's Fumbles, and we will, yep, noisy. There you go. All right, Fumble, let's say goodbye to the video. Hey. Epic fail. All right, we will see you guys next time, and see you next time. Bye.